LPT, get your finances in order by your 20s, or spend your 30s repairing all the damage. Well, get your finances in check in your 30s or you're straight fucked in your 40s and beyond. Right, not getting finances in order will only produce worse problems later. Only if you'll survive that long. I count on being dead, so I can manage my finances in a more free-handed way. Don't be so sure. My plan was to live fast, die young and leave a pretty corpse. Let me tell you, that plan failed in nearly every aspect. Gotta try harder bruh. I'm currently drinking bleach for breakfast and smoking asbestos. Go to the gym in your 30s to avoid having to undo the damage in your 40s. I mean, you can cause a lot of damage working out if you don't do it properly. Maybe the biggest nugget of knowledge here is always keep improving when you can and focus on doing these things safely and well, and maybe slow down. I don't know. I'm still figuring this out. 30 minutes of elevated activity every day is enough to keep you in decent shape. I know most Americans miss this target by a long shot. Diet is the big thing. Like 60-70% of your weight loss relies on this. If you can't train like an athlete, don't eat like one. No big salads before bed. Maybe 2 beers in a week. Watch the carbs. Count calories if you must. Labels and estimates vary up to 10%. Again, Americans way overeat. And there's extra sugar in practically everything. If you decide to do weight training, focus on form. Get a buddy or trainer and work on your form and steadily progressing until you're comfortable on your own. I don't recommend CrossFit on account of previous litigation and how much they sacrifice form. Once you hit about 26, your recovery time starts slowing down. Make sure to get sleep, and if you need it, creatine. It's safe and has a great track record. Lastly, find a time that you can consistently train. Doesn't matter if it's before or after work, it just needs to be consistent. Technically, all your weight loss is up to your diet. You can be sedentary and stay in a healthy weight if you eat a little and choose foods carefully. In most cases anyway, not that a sedentary life would be healthy. 6-packs are made in the kitchen, not in the gym. Apostrophe. Can't outrun a bad diet. An hour of sweating my ass off on the Stairmaster is still only like 800 calories. Do you at least have decent income? I find it's a lot easier to fix the spending than it is to fix the income. There's only so much you can do on $13 an hour. Yeah, never mind. I thought my promotion was good, but then I realized $13 is still under what I'd consider an adult wage. I got a promotion from sales associate to stock manager and went from $10/HR to $10.50. Edit. I'm 22 with an associate's degree. If you have a good driving record, look into becoming a utility locator. I did it for 5 years while I was still figuring out what path to take and can definitely recommend. Work alone and plan your day yourself. No real physical labor, except very occasionally climbing down a manhole and walking while carrying some pretty lightweight gear, but you get to work outside all day. Good starting pay. Bonuses if you don't suck. Quick to get raises. Pay maximums out at like $50 hour if you wanted to make a career out of it. Lots of overtime during the busy season. Job is mostly problem solving and route planning. Easiest way to tell who employs utility locators: buy a can of white spray paint. Call 811. Mark an area you can view from your window and see who shows up to mark. What do you mean mark with white spray paint and call? Do they investigate it or something? And what's the starting pay? Bonus tip to add to this: marry someone who has the same financial values as you. I married someone without any financial literacy or personal responsibility, and now I'm divorced and almost 30 and just now feeling good about my financial position. But I could have been here 5 years ago if I had considered this major factor before getting married. True facts, man. Nothing sexier than a partner who can have fun with you on the cheap to benefit both your futures. 40-year-old laughs nervously while having absolutely nothing at 40. We are all on a different journey. You just do the best you can I get so upset with myself when I read stories about 30 somethings who are retiring or have a million in assets. I'm 32 and making crap despite 3 degrees, all in STEM. My husband makes decent money though, and we worked really hard to pay all of our debt off, except our mortgage. Are we retiring early, or do we have a lot of money? No. But we are doing better than most people and we just have to keep doing the best we can with what we have. Social media has fucked our collective mental health so much. In a way I'm glad for my weird psychedelic and conspiracy theory days, because I was way too fucking paranoid of giving up my privacy to hop on the SM bandwagon at the time. Literally the saddest and almost out of touch / delusional people I know in my life are the ones who spend their free time just sucking down FB and Insta shit, comparing themselves to everyone else's heavily curated profiles. If you could pull a comment of my head, this is it verbatim. Got your finances in order, but also enjoy life. Tomorrow isn't promised. There are people so focused on their finances that they forget to live. What happens if you died tomorrow? What memories did you create? What experiences did you enjoy? You've got to find a balance between being fiscal responsibility, yet also taking time to enjoy what you have. Absolutely. I really wish personal finance was a mandatory class taught in schools. Edit from responses ranging from it's just addition and subtraction, bruh, to the kids will never grasp the macroeconomic structures necessary to properly comprehend the intricacies of personal finance. I can only draw one logical conclusion. I really wish personal finance was a mandatory class taught in schools. As a teacher I've seen that it is very difficult to get kids to take a class like that seriously. Not to mention that how hard it is for a school to justify its use when they are heavily academic focused. Trade schools tend to do much better with it. My net worth on any given day in high school was between $0 to $20 usually in change. Hard to see the point at that time. My net worth is still $0 to $20. My net worth is still $10k. But hey, I've brought it up from $65k in 2 years, so I have that going for me. I did pretty well through my 20s, husband and I were doing well, more than comfortable. We have a very planned pregnancy and then boom. I, the breadwinner, bring in 2/3s of household income, get made redundant, laid off. Now we are working through all our savings and it's that lovely catch-22 of not being able to afford for me not to work, and thanks to childcare costs not being able to afford for me to work. I turned 30 this year. I'm really hoping to get back some stability. Sorry, it's stressing me out, so I needed to vent somewhere. I feel you on this. I was bringing in a fairly decent income, one I was proud of going into my 30s. My BF and I planned for a baby and the day I found out I was pregnant I was let go so my boss's new wife, who he met 3 months earlier, could have my job. I'm in the same boat as you now, where childcare would eat up most of, if not all of, my starting salary at a new job. Life. Easier said than done. Lots of folks just aren't pulling in enough to truly be in order. I managed to keep good credit throughout my 20s. But there just wasn't enough money to save. And no, I didn't spend frivolously. In order doesn't necessarily mean having loads saved. Just not being in debt and having a decent credit rating is better than many people manage. I fucked around a lot in my 20s so my 30s are being spent repairing what I did. It's whatever. I had fun. I'm good now. No regrets. Not sure where you're from, but wages in the US have stagnated for decades. I don't know if that applies to you, but there are plenty of people who follow all the right advice and still end up in your shoes. I'm in the US. What do you qualify as an impulse buy? HMM. Deciding you need a new bag that costs $50 some dollars when you have a million other bags. Or spending X amount of money on something that you don't need without really thinking about it. Spending money just because you have money. Thank you for being specific. You have no judgments from me either way. I wish it was so simple. For me it's pencil cases / holders. I have a million clutches / pencil cases. I have stopped buying them at this point though. It is generally good advice to cut costs on such items. I have made some pricey choices. but mostly it's been saving for months at a time for vacation/new phone. Some may call that spending frivolous. I think it's different when you save the money to spend on those kinds of things. Either way, there are outside factors on this issue and it's just my hope more folks understand that. Thanks. I don't know. I'm happy I spent my money having fun and traveling before kids. If Op doesn't have any credit or loan debt, he is doing not bad for a 30-something. Money is cheap as shit right now. A mortgage is advised if possible. By the same token though, don't forget to live. I think your 20s are more for getting some life experiences. Don't go into mega debt, but don't be too afraid to spend some money within your means. Assuming most people would not own a home yet or have children. Once these things enter your life, your priorities shift. So yeah, don't go out and get as much credit as you can. But don't save every penny either, my 2C at least. Life experience doesn't need to be expensive either though. I mean, I'm exiting the prime of my life and the things I haven't scratched off my bucket list don't cost much money. They are mainly expensive in terms of time. Learn second languages, run marathons, learn an instrument, do a backflip, become a great home cook, get good at swimming, get an amateur boxing license. These things don't break the bank if you budget appropriately, but provide the kinds of experience that's pretty much guaranteed to evolve you as a person. We make mistakes so that we learn from them. You will recover Op. It takes time. Keep those goals. In mid-40s, still paying for dumbassery of late 20s. Expensive grad school, and no real exit strategy. Better now and one halfway through PSLF. But $250,000 in accrued interest plus principal. Almost a decade of default and alcoholism. Don't do private grad school and drugs, kids. Honestly just starting to try and repair my stupidity with credit cards. I'm 28 and had to move back home after a messy breakup and lack of funds. Hoping to be debt free by 30, but I'm going to have to bust my ass to fix all my mistakes. Don't be like Op and die. I'm almost 31 and still live at home, but you know, still have bills and stuff. However, I love living at home and couldn't imagine it any other way. I don't like living alone. And I don't like the idea of my mom living at home. So it was an easy decision. I'm glad you're at least enjoying it and are there for your mom. I don't want to be too far from my folks since they are getting older and will need me even more than they do now. But I miss coming home from work and being able to just relax in silence in a house I have all to myself or whoever I'm seeing at the time. It's just mom, myself, and our 2 dogs. We actually didn't have a great relationship when I was growing up, but as we get older she knows just about everything in my life. Well, except for a few private things. That's awesome that it's at least repaired your relationship. My mom and I have always been close, except when I was a young teenager, but I think that happens to everyone. My dad and I never really had a relationship, but it's gotten better. I honestly just want to move out before they get to the point where I'd feel bad for leaving them. What does getting them in order mean? Not sure exactly what Op's idea of in order is, but for me, I'm in my early 30s and just learning about Roth IRAs and stuff like that. I read about people who started them in their early 20s, and within a decade they already have so much in there for retirement savings. I wish I'd known about all that when I was younger. I'd feel much better about my financial situation if I knew I had 5 figures saved up already. Instead I have almost nothing. Seriously, it's so important to start saving for retirement sooner rather than later. Let's say you start maximuming out a Roth IRA at 25 years old. At $6,000 per year and 6% interest, you'll be a millionaire in just over 40 years. Now let's suppose you start investing at 35 years old. To reach $1 million by 65, you literally need to invest double the principal, $12,000 per year. Long story short, if you start maximuming an IRA and contribute the bare minimum to get a company 401k match as soon as you start working after college, you won't have to worry about not being able to retire. Also Roth contributions, just the principal, not interest, can be withdrawn at any time without a tax penalty, since you already paid taxes on it. If you have to dip into an emergency fund to maximum the Roth, just do it. Worst case scenario, if you need that money, you can still access it. But if you don't invest it, you'll never get that tax money back. Number 1. Pay off your credit card balances and do it every month. It's the best investment you can make. Guaranteed return of whatever your interest rate is. It makes no sense to keep savings earning 2% when you're paying 15% or 20% on your credit card balance. I honestly don't get how people make financial decisions by their 20s. Is this an American thing? I'm from Europe and I just barely begun university and I'm already in my 20s. By the time I finish university I'll be 26 to 28, and for this entire time I will have a very low income, which will not allow me to spend on anything except rent/groceries. How can one be financially responsible without a real income to speak of? How should I approach personal finance in this situation? Considering Americans go into massive debt right before starting university, we get introduced to finance pretty early on. Not to mention most of us will need to buy a car before that time too. I don't know why people feel the need to be so horribly mean to a perfect stranger. This is sound advice, and not enough people do it. I was poor in my 20s and poorer in my 30s. Some people just learn through trial rather than preparation. I knew everything I needed to know when I was in my 20s. I did the same stuff anyways. I'm not expecting to ever be able to retire, so honestly I'm living my best life right now. I travel when I can, but am very particular about planning well in advance and within my means. As someone still repairing their finances in my mid-30s, listen to this. I know saving and financial responsibility sound boring, but it is well worth it, and you will not be restricted in your choices in later life. There is so much stuff I wish I had been able to do, but couldn't because I had no money. TL. Doctor, this LPT is very good. Heed the advice, or pay heavily later. In my 20s now, and my mum's helping me out with this. The moment I got a job she referred me to a credit union, and had an account set up. Since I'm still living with my parents she recommended I put 60-70% of my paycheck into savings and set up a 5-year CD whenever I hit a certain amount in savings. CD interest rates are a joke these days. If anything, take what you have and invest in a high-div stable ETF. Your money will continue to make money through dividends. And if you pick a good one it might actually increase in value at a higher rate than a CD. Some good goals to help achieve this, albeit quite vague. 1. Set a budget and follow it. Determine what you want to get out of it, whether that's saving up for a house, college for the kids, or scheduled vacations. Not saving at all will kill you, though it's not always possible to save a lot. When making your budget, try not to make it too rigid, but set it for what would be a short month. For me, 20 work days. Follow it as best you can, but give yourself leeway for special occasions like weddings, days, etc. Fast food and rampant Amazon purchases will be the undoing of any budget. 2. Get a credit card or cards, and be consistent with paying it off. Credit cards are helpful in building or repairing credit. If your credit is bad, you will likely not have too many options to start with, but there are cards out there for that. More importantly, keep paying it off. I do that every Friday and that generally keeps me out of trouble. Even so, not a bad idea to enroll in autopay just in case. 3. Use receipts. I have a whiteboard for things like essentials, groceries, toiletries, etc. and spending. We start out at $X at the beginning of the month, and by calculating receipts into that number, it whittles down until the month's conclusion. That's been the bulk of my strategy thus far. I love budgets, and I'm therefore a nerd. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.